The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. The persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance, please stand and be led in prayer by the Very Reverend Nicholas G. Bacalus, St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Cathedral, Richmond. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Lucas.
Please remain standing after the prayer and be led in pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Senate Paid Francisca Warner.
May we bow our heads in prayer. Gracious Lord, we thank you for allowing us the honor to serve as representatives of the constituents of our districts and all the citizens of the Commonwealth. We thank you for our freedom to contemplate, discuss, and act upon the challenges and opportunities that we face. Enlighten us with an understanding of the issues. Help us to listen, respect, and learn from those who offer input in our discussions. Grant us the spirit of courage, justice, prudence, and discernment in the performance of our duties, and to reconcile differences in a peaceful manner. From our diversity, grant us unity and harmony so that we may best serve all Virginians. Bless the esteemed members of this Senate, their staff, support staff throughout the building, and their families as they give of their time and talent for the continued progress and governance of our Commonwealth. In everything that we consider and do, may we honor you, the author of freedom, truth, and justice. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. My honor, my honor.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present, please vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Madam President. Whoops. Ooh.
You are still Madam Clerk to me.
And you are Madam President. Senate Journal for Thursday, February 27th, 2020.
The senator from Washington, Senator Pillion, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All those in favor of the motion, vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 30, noes 8.
Ayes 30, noes 8. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates.
Madam President, I move that we waive the reading of communications from the House of Delegates.
The question is, shall the reading of the communications be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 4.
Ayes 34, noes 4. The communications from the House of Delegates has been waived. The clerk will report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, Madam President.
Now is the time to welcome visitors and take up all matters of the morning hour. And we have green sheets, and the first green sheet is The senator from Rockingham, Senator Aubenchain.
Well, Madam President, I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, my seatmate just handed me my crib notes just in time. I wish to draw the body's attention to a guest in the gallery, Peyton Vogel. This happens to be the daughter of my seatmate and Alex Vogel. And I know that her parents are immensely proud of her. She is a student at Virginia's flagship institution in our system of higher education. And no, she does not go to JMU. She is a student at Virginia Tech, where she is studying communications. She's a junior. And Madam President, her parents are quite proud of her, and I would ask that you extend the warm welcome of the Senate to another of the multitude of children of my seatmate.
Will the family of our esteemed colleague, Senator Vogel, please stand and be recognized? And I just want to say we're going to applaud after we've given the introduction. And of course, she talks about you all the time. So we know you personally, even though we don't see you. So with that, would you all please join me in giving a welcome to Peyton Vogel. Now I want to call on Senator Vogel, who has an introduction to make.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. For all the years that Josie Coates has been a good friend of our family and often a chaperone of the many Vogel children, she has never been to visit me in the Senate of Virginia and never visited in the gallery. And she is here with one of my children. And I would tell you that she's from Frederick County and a wonderful, wonderful person. And I hope that we can give her a wonderful display of what we do here on the Senate floor. And I would ask that you please extend to Josie Coates the very warm welcome of the Senate this morning.
Josie Coates, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? And, of course, we are delighted to see you here with Senator Vogel, one of her many children. And we welcome you, and we know that you will come back often, and, of course, along with one of the Vogel members of the family. So with that, will each of you please join me in giving her a warm welcome of the Senate? The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for two introductions.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. First today, our prayer this morning was given by the very Reverend Nicholas C. Bacalus of St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Catholic Cathedral of Richmond. And I ask that you give him a Senate warm welcome for the beautiful prayer that he gave us this morning.
Absolutely. The very Reverend Nicholas G. Bacalus, St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Cathedral of Richmond is a mouthful. Thank you so much for coming to give us that very delightful prayer, and I feel even more blessed that you gave me a hug. Let's give him a very warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. We also have in the gallery with us today representatives from Care in Action, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan group dedicating to fighting for the dignity and fairness of the millions of domestic workers in the United States, including the 60,000 domestic workers here in Virginia. Domestic workers are among the oldest professions in the country, but is also one of the fastest growing workforces in our nation. However, nannies, housekeepers, and home health care providers have historically been excluded from basic labor protections. They're here to see us pass House Bill 804, which eliminates one exemption from the minimum wage for domestic workers, but also will create a work group to look at all of the other employee protections that every other workforce can achieve. And they have advocated very, very strongly for a very long time on behalf of the 60,000 domestic workers in Virginia. And I ask you give them a warm welcome.
Thank you, Senator McClellan. Will the group from Care in Action please stand and be recognized in the gallery? And of course, I recognize each of you. And so I would ask the members of the Senate to join me in giving you the very warm welcome of the Senate and commend you on your advocacy for Care in Action. Please join me. Senator D. Staff, the senator from Virginia Beach, the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Staff.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Today in the gallery, Madam President, we're joined by Michelle Norman and Julie Shepard. Michelle is the 2019 Armed Forces Insurance Navy Spouse of the Year. She advocates at the state and federal level for military children with special needs and their education. Julie is a Navy spouse representing the Virginia PTA, where she also advocates for military children and their education. Virginia has the highest number of active duty military families of any state, Madam President. They're here in support of Senate Bill 91, which we worked on with the senator from Northern Chesapeake, that would be Senator Spruill, which has passed the Senate and the House, that will add 2 non-legislative citizen members of the Virginia Council of Interstate Compact on Education Opportunities for Military Children. Madam President, please offer Michelle and Julie the warmest welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator D. Step. Will Michelle Norman and Julie Shepard please stand in the gallery and be recognized? Want to thank you so very much for joining us today and be advocates on the bills that you've come to see passed in the legislature. And if you're connected with Senator D. Steph, I know you will be back often. And so will you all join me in giving them the very warm welcome of the Senate? I have no more green sheets, but I do have in queue the senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd request leave for the senator from King George, Senator Richard Stewart, who is away from the Capitol on pressing personal business.
Thank you, Senator. The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to make a request of you and the body.
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, madam.
I request unanimous consent, and I know it's rather late in the day, but I request unanimous consent for a Senate joint resolution to commemorate June 29th. As you know, June 29th, 1776, the Constitution of Virginia was adopted unanimously at the 5th Virginia Revolutionary Convention. And the good folks at Virginia Commonwealth University, the Political Science Department, and its faculty, students, and alumni are requesting that we hereby identify June 29th as Virginia Day. And I request unanimous consent for this resolution.
Thank you, Senator Hashmi. The question is, shall the Senate grant consent to introduce a resolution relating to the matters as presented by the senator from Chesterfield? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The consent of the Senate is granted to introduce. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Madam President, I rise for an announcement.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, can the Journal please reflect that my seatmate is away on pressing personal business? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 30, I apologize, Madam President. Madam President, Actually, the script says Mr. President, so it's all the script's fault, okay? Madam President, pursuant to Rule 13 of HJR 99, the scheduling resolution, I move that the Senate do now suspend the special and continuing joint order relating to judicial elections until Monday, March the 2nd, 2020.
The question is, pursuant to Rule 13 of HJR 99, the scheduling resolution, shall the Senate suspend the special and continuing joint order relating to judicial elections until Monday, March 2nd? All in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are all the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
Ayes 36 and noes 0. The joint order will be held on Monday, March 2nd. Will the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, so direct the House of Delegates? The Senate will be at ease. Call the calendar.
I'll be back.
Senate calendar for Friday, February 28th, 2020. Page 17. Unfinished business House. House Bill 19. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Let's get back to page 17. The senator from Bath, Senator Deeds. Page 17, House Bill 19.
May that bill go by temporarily.
Bill will go by temporarily. Senator Deeds, you have the next one also is House Bill 220. Okay, we'll go by temporarily. The first three yours. Senator Deeds is just an insistent request motion.
I insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall House Bill 19 be, should we insist and request? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Those opposed, no. We're going to have to record a vote. I'm sorry, that's going to be a recorded vote. The question is, shall House Bill 19, shall we insist and request? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are all senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0.
House Bill 220.
The senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I move that we insist on our amendment and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference on House Bill 220? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 235. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I move that we insist on our amendment and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 235? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 298. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insists on its substitute and respectfully request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference on the senator from senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan?
Madam President, could that go by temporarily? I think I think we need to accede, because if we do so, they'll be identical, but I just need to verify that.
Bill will go back temporarily.
We can go back temporarily. House Bill 375. The House has rejected the Senate amendments.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference on House Bill 375? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 375.
House Bill 402. The House has rejected the Senate amendments.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam President. On House Bill 402, I move that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 660. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President.
I didn't hear the first one.
It's been stricken from the calendar. It's been stricken from the transcript. Madam President, I move the Senate insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 660? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, no 0.
Ayes 36, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 759. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate and Madam President, I move that the Senate insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Do all senators vote? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 824. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insists on its substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 913. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, no 0.
Ayes 36, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 974. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insist and request a committee of conference as to House Bill 974.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 974? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1037. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I would move that we insist on the Senate substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are all senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1201, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Southern Fairfax County, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on this substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record the votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1269, the House has rejected the Senate amendment.
The senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that we insist on our amendment and request a committee of conference for House Bill 1269.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All senators voted. Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1450, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator
Yes,
Peterson.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I move that the Senate insist and request on committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its, in this case, its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All senators voted. Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1451, the House has rejected the Senate amendments.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, I insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference. Move that we request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 1451? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1499, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson. I'm sorry, the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insist and request a committee of conference with regard to House Bill 1499.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 1499? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
House Bill 1544, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City.
Madam President, as to House Bill 1544, I move the Senate insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
On House Bill 284, the conferees as named by Senator Lewis from the Committee on Local Government are Senators Stewart, Hashmi, and McPike. House Bill 558. The conferees as named by Senator Lewis from the Committee on Local Government are Senators Lewis, Spruill, and Pillion. And House Bill 870. Conferees as named by the Chair of the Committee on the Judiciary, Senator Edwards, are Senators Surville, Boysko, and Stanley. Turning to page 30. Unfinished business, Senate. Senate Bill 35 has passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would move that we concur with the House amendment and speak to that motion.
Senator has floor.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is the local authority for firearms bill. The amendments the House made conform it to the bill, which I believe we might have passed yesterday or the day before. But the amendments do a couple things. Number one of the localities reached out, indicated that their parks are owned by a park authority and not by the locality itself, and so they wanted to make sure that park authorities were included in the locality orbit. And secondly, there was concern about whether or not this might apply to publicly operated recreation and community centers that the locality didn't actually own, but they leased. And so they added language to make it clear that community centers and rec centers were also included in the bill, and that's pretty much the only changes to the bill. Probably not going to change many votes over there, but that's what it does.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 16.
Ayes 22, noes 16. The House amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 65 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation that it be rejected, I move that we support the substitute from the House. And speaking to that.
Senator has floor.
Madam President, House Bill 19, which is the House's version of photo ID, does not in actuality repeal photo ID. So, and they simply substituted their bill for mine. So I move that we do not accept their substitution. So with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move passage of the substitution.
With the recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute, the question is, shall the House substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 37.
Ayes 0, noes 37. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 70 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Senate Bill 70 be passed by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 71 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I move that Senate Bill 71 be passed by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 111 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt the House amendment. This is strictly technical. It changes a cross-reference.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment on Senate Bill 111? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 14.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 134 has passed the House with amendment.
Madam President.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
I move that Senate Bill 134 please go by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 142 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Madam President, I move that bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 142 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 203 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I move that Senate Bill 203 go by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 219 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House amendments. They took the clause off, so maybe there's hope. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I move that we accept the House amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 17.
Ayes 21, noes 17. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 225 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Southern Fairfax.
Madam President. Madam President, could Senate Bill 225 please go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 225 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 240 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that we concur with the House substitute, which is consistent with the comparable legislation from the House that we passed. I think it was just yesterday.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 17.
Ayes 21, noes 17. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 329 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insist on its amendments and request a committee of conference. I move that we reject the amendment. Yes.
Okay, reject.
Reject.
Senator, would you please explain?
Yes, I will. So we had amendments that we placed on Senate Bill 329 that added. This bill adds Russell County to a list of counties that have the ability to charge fees for solid waste management and to collect monies for the operation of that type of endeavor. We added the name Russell County in a couple of different places in the bill that gave the county more flexibility, along with other counties that have been permitted to do this. And those amendments were rejected by the House, and so we want to keep our amendments.
The question is, shall the Senate reject the House amendments with the recommendation that they be rejected on Senate Bill 329? With the recommendation that they be rejected, shall the Senate agree to Senate Bill 329? All in favor of the motion, please record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Are the senators ready? Have all senators voted? Do all senators vote? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Oh my gosh.
Ayes 1, noes 37.
That was a little twist on what I'm accustomed to. Ayes 1, noes 37. The House amendment is rejected.
Senate Bill 360 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Mr. Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll make it a little easier for you on this one. As much as it pains me, Madam President, I'm asked that we accept the House substitute. The difference in the two bills is the language clarifies that a developer has a choice whether to enter into a pro rata share agreement for utilities. And it also clarifies that the provisions do not affect water and wastewater authorities in localities that do not collect pro rata share from developers at the subdivision. So with those changes, Madam President, I ask that we accept the House substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accept the substitute, House substitute on Senate Bill 360? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 462 passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Madam President. I would ask that we concur with the House amendment. And speaking of that,
Senator has floor.
thank you, Madam President. All that does is take off the clause that was applied, and I ask the bill pass.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The bill, the Senate concurs with House Amendment 462.
Senate Bill 479 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Can that go by for the day, please?
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 511 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, with regard to Senate Bill 511, I move that we with the recommendation we reject the House amendment. I move that we concur in the House amendment.
The question is, with the recommendation, Senator Edwards, I'm sorry, you need to explain the bill.
All right. Can we just go by temporarily? I do want to look at it.
Bill will go by temporarily.
No, I'm not sure it is. That's right. I'm not sure it is.
Senate Bill 545 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that we, with the recommendation we reject the House amendment, I move that we accept the House amendment.
Senator Edwards, could you please explain to us that one also, or would you like for that one to go by temporarily?
Madam President, this has to do with appeal of right from a court not of record would mean that the whole case would go up and not just part of the case. And my understanding is the companion House bill is in conference.
Thank you, Senator Edwards. With the recommendation that the Senate rejects the House substitute, the question is, shall the House concur with Senate Bill 545? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 38.
Ayes 0, noes 38. The Senate rejects the House substitute.
Senate Bill 546 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, Madam President, I move that we concur in the House substitute to Senate Bill 546.
Senator Edwards, can you expound on that a little bit?
All right, Madam President, this has to do with the appeal of juveniles, and this substitute removes the definition of violent juvenile felony. It preserves the confidentiality issues with regard to a juvenile being charged as an adult being transferred to adult court, it requires that the judge at ages 14 to 16 do have a hearing. The prosecution cannot just transfer automatically. There needs to be a hearing by the juvenile judge. Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, no 6.
Ayes 32, no 6. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 576 has passed the House with the substitute.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move we reject the substitute. This is the bill that deals with the reorganization of several state agencies, and we have some difference of opinion on particularly the membership of the board as well as disposition of CIT funds.
With the recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 576? All in favor of that vote, of that motion, please record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 38.
Ayes 0, noes 38. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 611 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we concur with the House amendment. And explanation, this is a technical amendment. There was a reference to a subsection D, which should correctly have been subsection E, and that's all it does. It refers to the Truck Manufacturing Grant Fund. I hope we will concur with the House amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 619 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the House amendments. These amendments are basically the same, put the bill in identical form to House Bill 74 that came out of the House Education and Health Committee the other day. The change it makes from the bill as it left the Senate is that it takes the State Board of Education out of the process. It leaves the development of training standards between the local school boards and the Department of Behavioral Health and Community Service Boards.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 666 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Northwestern Fairfax.
Madam President.
Senator Bosco.
Madam President, I move the Senate concur with the House amendments.
Speaking to that.
Yes, ma'am. This is the bill that would allow registrars to alert someone that their notification of voter registration had an error on it in a way beyond a postal mail, giving them the option of telephone or email. What we learned was when we put an amendment on there in the Senate committee was that putting a preference line in would have given us an enormous fiscal impact of something in the range of $123,000. So the House amended it, giving the person the opportunity to leave the space blank on the application, either the phone or the email or both. And so, therefore, we eliminate that fiscal impact.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House?
Madam President.
I'm sorry, who did I see standing? Oh, I'm sorry. The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Just speaking very briefly to Senate Bill 666.
Oh.
I would just remind the body that the devil is in the details. Thank you.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments on Senate Bill 666? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 17.
Ayes 20, noes 17. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 717 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House substitute.
Speaking to the question.
Yes, ma'am. The House substitute just makes technical changes to correct code sections. And I renew my motion.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 17.
Ayes 21, noes 17. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 737 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Rockingham.
Madam President, I move that we concur with the House amendment. This bill basically provides that you have to be a qualified voter of your city or county to serve on the electoral board of that city or county. And believe it or not, it has actually been a problem. The House amendment simply is another way of accomplishing the same thing, probably more artful.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 804 has passed the House with amendments.
Senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House amendment. And speaking to that,
Senator has floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The House amendment adds a representative of domestic worker organizations to the work group that will examine employee protections. And I renew my motion to accept the House the amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 4.
Ayes 34, noes 4. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 870 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marston.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House amendments to Senate Bill 870, which deals with special exceptions for solar projects. What they did was simplify the language in Section A and remove a 5-megawatt threshold from the bill. And I reiterate my motion that the House amendments be accepted.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 880 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I move that we concur with the House substitute. And what the substitute does is it deletes a language that references a mayor or vice mayor when it comes to making a change with regard to moving a meeting on account of weather, because it really doesn't. Oh, wrong bill. Sorry, wrong bill. Oh, this has to do with staffing ratios for school counselors, and it's simply changed the number from I think it changed it from 250 to 300. The staffing ratio, I believe it was to 325.
Thank you.
Just changed the number. Yeah.
Okay. With the recommendation that
it be
Senate,
rejected.
The recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 880? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 7, noes 31.
Ayes 7, noes 31. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 910 is passed the House with a substitute.
The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House substitute, and speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
The substitute lifts the clause that we had in the Senate bill, and therefore I ask that we accept the substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate accept this House substitute on Senate Bill 910? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 15.
Ayes 23, noes 15. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 941 is passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam President. Now we get to talk about weather. And I move that we concur with the House substitute. And what is done here is it simply changes, it moves out of the bill the references to mayor, because it is not referencing the Board of Supervisors or a city. It is referencing like a Board of Zoning Appeals or other commission like that. So, and it says by a resolution as opposed to at a regular meeting as opposed to an annual meeting. So again, I move that we concur with the House substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 941? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 977 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 977. Speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the bill requiring that every local body, the boards, the supervisor, city council, provide public comment opportunities at their meetings. Fashioned it in such a way to make sure that Fairfax, with 1.1 million people, would not get caught up. And apparently I fashioned it in such a way in the Senate so that Fairfax would not have got caught up most years, but apparently every few years when there's a calendar quirk, they would. So I made a slight modification, and so it, instead of providing it at half the meetings, half of the regular meetings, it's make sure that they're provided at least quarterly. So everyone in here, to my knowledge, all of their jurisdictions currently meet this requirement except mine. So I hope it will be the pleasure of the Senate to bring this public comment to my part of the Commonwealth as well.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments on Senate Bill 977? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 990 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, with regard to Senate Bill 990, with the recommendation we reject the House substitute, I move the House substitute.
With the recommendation of Senator Edwards, I think we need a little explanation.
Yeah, what this is, it creates the governor's new airline service incentive fund to be administered by the Virginia Tourism Authority, which would support bringing new passenger air service to Virginia. With that explanation, and having moved that we adopt the House substitute, I recommend we reject it. Vote red.
The question is, with the recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 990? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 1, noes 37.
Ayes 1, noes 37. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 996 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that we concur in the substitute to House 996. By way of explanation, Madam President, this substitute conforms this bill to the House Bill 1626 of Delegate Bourne, and it has to do with the concurrent jurisdiction between the Capitol Police with regard to canines and law enforcement areas, law enforcement in other areas when there's a need to have the canine to detect firearms, ammunition, explosives, and the like. That explains it. So with that explanation, move the concur in the House substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 996? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1023 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I move that the Senate reject the House substitute. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Bill 1023 is the bill that addresses the problems that have been going on in Virginia's prisons, where there have been a number of strip searches based on canine alerts, where we've had minors being strip searched and women over the age of 70 being strip searched, and people visiting their loved ones in prisons who have been told that if they do not allow themselves to be strip searched, they will never be able to see their loved one or the person they're visiting again. The bill that passed unanimously out of Rehab and Social Services, it set out the provisions for these visits, and it set it under the Department of Corrections. And it set out various provisions involving canines, visitors, things that could be done, couldn't be done, and said no strip searches under the age of 18. And most importantly, it said that the prison officials could not threaten someone that they'd never be able to visit again if they didn't submit to a strip search. On the other hand, the House substitute has come out of a different committee, Committee on Public Safety, and it is much more limited and really only addresses strip search of minors, and it sets it out between 14, under 14 can't be done, and between 14 and 18 you have to have permission of a guardian or parent. But it does not address canines, and it does not address the factor of the prisoners or prison officials threatening not to have future visits. So our version that was passed by you guys 40-0 is a much better version. I ask we reject the House substitute, and you'll figure out the language. But I ask that you vote red.
The question is, with the recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 1023? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 2, noes 35.
Ayes 2, noes 35. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1035.
Senate Bill 1035, the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Madam President, can I go by temporarily?
Without objection, the bill will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 1089, passed the House with a substitute.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Good afternoon, Madam President.
Good afternoon, Senator Morrissey.
Madam President, with the recommendation that we reject the House substitute, I now move the House substitute and would request permission to speak to it.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, this has an element of deja vu all over again. You just heard Senator Peake, Senator from Lynchburg, speak a moment ago. I'm asking the House to reject it because my bill specifically provided in strip searches that no minor could be strip searched or undergo a cavity search. We underwent a pretty robust discovery in Rehab Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services, and I can state categorically that the members on the committee were aghast when they heard that young people were being strip searched. The genesis of this was a news article out of Virginia Beach where an 8-year-old girl was strip searched. So again, with the recommendation that we reject the House substitute, I move the House substitute.
With the recommendation that the Senate reject the House substitute on Senate Bill 1089, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill 1089? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 38.
Ayes 0, noes 38. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 235, the House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
The senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that we accede to the request for a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the Senate? Shall the Senate accede to the conference committee of requests from the House of Delegates on Senate Bill 235? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The Senate accedes to the conference committee request.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 235 is named by the Chair of Commerce and Labor, Senator Sasslaw, of Senators Barker, Marsden, and Newman. Senate Bill 297, the House insists on its amendments and requests a committee of conference.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference. Thank you.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the Senate's House request for a conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The Senate accedes to the House's request for a committee of conference.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 297 is named by the Chair of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Edwards, are Senators Favola, McClellan, and Chafin. Senate Bill 404, the House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
The junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi.
Madam President, I move that we accede to the House's request for a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 404? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 2.
Ayes 35, noes 2. The Senate accedes to the House request for a committee of conference.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 404 is named by the Chairman of Commerce and Labor, Senator Saslaw, are Senators Hashmi, Bill, and Mason. Senate Bill 707. The House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accede to the request for a committee on conference.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 707? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. The Senate accedes to the House request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 707.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 707 is named by the Chair of General Laws and Technology, Senator Barker, or Senators McClellan, Hashmi, and Kiggins. Senate Bill 720. The House insists on its substitute with amendment and request a committee of conference.
Senior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accede to the request for a committee on conference.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. The Senate will accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Commerce and Labor, Senator Saslaw, Senators McClellan, Bell, and Eben. Senate Bill 286. We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills. Go back to page 18. House Bill 298.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the Senate insists and requests a committee of conference with regard to House Bill 298.
The question is, shall the Senate insist and request a committee of conference on House Bill 298? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The Senate will insist and request a committee of conference.
On page 35, Senate Bill 511.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, Madam President, I move that the Senate concur in the House amendment.
Senator has the floor.
Yeah, Madam President, this has to do with the actual writ of actual innocence, where a person can file a claim for both biological and non-biological information, and it's passed the Senate 23 to 17 and the House 55 to 44 apparently. And with that explanation, I move that we concur in the House amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments on Senate Bill 511? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 14.
Ayes 23, noes 14. The Senate concurs with the House amendment on Senate Bill 511.
Madam President.
The senator from James Center, Senator.
Good morning, Madam President. While we're on a roll, if I could respectfully ask that we return to Senate Bill 35 on page 30.
and having voted on the prevailing side, ask that we reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 35 passed.
Thank you, Senator Norman. Page 30. And that's Senate Bill 35, sir. Shall we reconsider the vote by which the Senate concurred to Senate Bill 35? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, no 0.
Ayes 36, no 0. The Senate concurs with the reconsideration. The senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass, and having previously explained the bill.
Shall the Senate concur with the House substitute on Senate Bill
Good
35?
point. I move that we concur with the House amendment. Sorry.
Okay. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment on Senate Bill 35? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, no 17.
Ayes 21, no 17. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
On page 41, Senate Bill 1035.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Madam President, I recommend we concur with the House amendment in speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, we have this thing called English grammar and diction, and that's things like spelling out the number 1 or putting the numeral 1. And for consistency, the House decided we would put the number, we would spell out the number 1 where it was numerically number 1 in the code previously and where there were changes. And additionally, since I don't want to I want to make sure we fully understand this bill. This bill deals with motorcycle franchise agreements being treated the same as automotive franchise agreements. And in places where we talk about the franchise, because it wasn't spelled out in one or two places as franchise agreement, we've added the word agreement after the word franchise. And additionally, where previously we had put where the population exceeds 1 million or more, we crossed it out and put exceeds 1 million and took out or more, because exceeds means the same as or more when you're referring to the number of above 1 million. They decided to change it back around because they didn't like the word exceeds, but they did like or more better than exceeds. So we're down to English grammar and diction, and with that, I request we concur with the House amendments after being fully explained.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment to Senate Bill 1037? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 1.
Ayes 36, noes 1. The Senate concurs with the House amendments on Senate Bill 1035.
On page 50, uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
The senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
Madam President, excuse me, I move that all House bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, it's pages 50 through 62, House Bill 1576 through House Bill 1690, be advanced to their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and any one senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 50 through 62, that is House Bills 1576 through House Bills 1690, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The few ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bill are before us in the block. The clerk will read the numbers of the bill.
House Bill 1576, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor, and there is a floor substitute.
Madam President, I move adoption of the floor substitute. We waive the reading. It's about 28 pages. I move that we waive the reading of the substitute. And speaking to the substitute, you want to waive it first? Go ahead.
Okay, yes. The question is, shall the reading of the substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Sasslaw, you have the floor.
The floor substitute merely conforms 1570. It doesn't conform it. Brings it in, makes it consistent with the Virginia Clean Economy Act. It's not a major change. It just made sure there was it wasn't in conflict with that. And I would move that we adopt the substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be adopted? All in favor of the substitute will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is adopted.
House Bill 253, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 394, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 414.
Madam President.
Over here. The Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. Could House Bill 394 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Bill 394 is out of the block.
House Bill 414, reported for the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 420, reported for the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
The Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker, on House Bill 420.
Madam President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute to House Bill 420 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 491, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
The Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee amendments.
The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 557, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 687, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 827, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with an amendment.
The Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that the substitute from the Committee on General Laws and Technology be accepted.
The question is, shall the committee amendments from the General Laws and Technology, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Substitute is agreed to. The Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Madam President, I move the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendment on House Bill 827 be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 907.
I'm sorry,
reported
you, and there was nothing in queue. The Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. Could House Bill 827 come out of the block and go by for the day, please?
Without
Bill
objection?
827 on page 54.
Without objection? House Bill 827 will go by for the day.
House Bill 907, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 928, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
The Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 942, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1002, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1015, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute to House Bill 1015 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1017, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with a substitute. There is a floor substitute.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we reject the committee substitute. There was a technical error by Legislative Services on the way it was drawn. It was drawn in error, so I would ask we reject that.
With the recommendation that the Senate reject the committee substitute, the question is, shall the Senate agree to the committee substitute on House Bill 1017? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howard.
I move we waive the reading of the floor substitute unless you want 50-some pages.
The question is, shall the floor substitute be waived? All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Aye. I believe it's been waived.
Yes.
Thank you.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howard, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would now move that we adopt the floor substitute.
The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The floor substitute is adopted.
House Bill 1062, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 1093, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations, and there is a floor substitute.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, I think it's going to be the senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. It is the senator from Arlington. Madam President, I would like to waive the reading of the floor substitute.
The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the floor amendment be agreed to. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we heard several versions of this bill before us in the Rehab and Social Services Committee. The first part of the floor amendment tracks with Delegate Hope's bill word for word, and that deals with what our state Department of Correction does with state prisoners. The second part of the bill deals with our local and regional jails. And the second part of the substitute clearly explains that an individual has to have been confined at least 90 days. And after that, then the sheriff would be responsible for providing assistance in enabling that individual to gain either a Social Security number or driver's license or birth certificate. And then once that's done, the big change that the stakeholders have asked for was to now say that the sheriff shall make a reasonable effort to actually contact the former inmates, because sometimes inmates move around. It's a transient population. It was an extraordinarily costly burden, is what the sheriffs thought. So this substitute clearly says shall make a reasonable effort to ensure that the prisoner obtains the possession of the identification or document. And then we also note that if the inmate has had some money accumulated in his personal account, that money would go towards the cost of actually acquiring the Social Security or birth certificate. And if the inmate did not have dollars available in his fund, then the jail would pick up the cost. So this substitute is sort of the best of at least two bills that Rehab and Social Services heard. We had a large stakeholder meeting. The sheriffs are in support of this. Delegate Hope, Delegate Aird are in support of this. Other stakeholders are in support of this bill. I essentially have explained the bill now that I've explained the amendment. So again, I renew my motion that this floor amendment be agreed to. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, would the insightful senator from Arlington yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
I will. Yes, I will.
Madam President, my question is this: as I look on line 23 of the amendment and the nature of the substitute, it talks about the prisoner, if he is determined to be indigent, then he doesn't have to pay the cost. But then I go over and I look at line 38, and it talks about unless the prisoner has funds in his account to cover all or part of the cost. My question is, one, is there a contradiction there? And secondly, are you referring to the prisoner's canteen account where individuals can make deposits for the prisoner to purchase things from the canteen or jail store?
Okay, I will respond. On line 23 of the floor amendment, we are actually talking about, as you're aware, prisoners that are in our state system. And we were told that this is currently the way things are done. And there was no request to change that. So my expectation is that there are dollars in the Department of Corrections to do this because they've been doing this all along. So that's the answer on 23. You've asked me a very specific question regarding the funds referring to inmates that may have been in local or regional jails. When we were discussing this, the expectation was that there are funds that can be accumulated sometimes when you are an inmate, and it would be those funds, but we did not accurately explain that.
I thank the lady. Speaking to the amendment, please.
Senator has floor.
Madam President, my concern is that there are certain questions that an individual can be asked by the court that will qualify them as being indigent and therefore entitled to a court-appointed attorney. And I'm assuming that if they are declared indigent at that point, that the expectation is that indigency declaration would be carried through as it relates to this identification. But someone could not be declared indigent but not have money in their canteen account but still have resources, and because their family has chosen not to put money in their canteen account to buy their potato chips or whatever, then they would not have to pay any or all of the cost.
Madam President,
has floor.
I think the senator from James City County makes a valid point. I'd be happy to have this go by for the day, and we can work on tightening up our language.
Without objection.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't read it till just then. Talk to Joe, he knows how it works.
House Bill 1099, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 1237, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1301, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
The senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker. And this is the substitute from the Committee on General Laws.
Madam President, I move that the substitute be agreed to. This basically takes a bill that was broader, narrows it down in terms of what would be covered by the Ombudsman office that would be set up, and I think is consistent with what people's expectations of it is.
The question is, shall the Senate agree to the substitute from the Committee on Commerce and Labor, from General Laws and Technology, from the Committee on General Laws and Technology? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Well, the ayes have it, and I'm sorry, this committee's substitute is agreed to. The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the amendments be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendments from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Aye. Ayes have it. Committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1310, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1332, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Substitute be agreed to.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1375, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1458, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. House Bill 1609, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1681, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations. House Bill 1690, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that the amendment from the Committee on General Laws and Technology be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendment from the Committee on General Laws and Technology be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell. There's two.
I move the amendments be agreed to. The amendment be agreed to.
Okay. The question is, shall the House bills pass in the block?
Madam President.
The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam President. Can the final two bills, House Bill 1681 on page 61 and House Bill 1690 on page 62, please come out of the block?
Without objection, those bills are out of the block. The question is, shall the House bills pass in the block? That is, all bills except House Bill 394, House Bill 827, House Bill 1097, House Bill 1681, and House Bill 1690. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The bills in the block pass. Returning to
page 51.
Page 51.
House Bill 394.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill establishes the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion within the Governor's Office to promote inclusive practices across state government. I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the amendments pass on, shall the bill pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 2.
Ayes 31, noes 2. The bill passed.
On page 54, House Bill 827.
The senator from Southern Fairfax.
That went by for the day. I'm sorry.
That's by, okay.
On page 61. I think we're on 61 now.
Yes.
House Bill 1681.
The question is, shall House... I'm sorry. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill authorizes the Charitable Gaming Board to allow no more than 18 electronic versions of instant bingo, pull tabs, or electric seal cards in the social quarters premises of qualified charitable organizations. Move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 3.
Ayes 33, noes 3. The bill passed.
On page 62, House Bill 1690.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you. This is another charitable gaming bill. It adds a reenactment clause that during the 2021 session, the current form of single bingo door prize would increase from $50 to $250, and that's it.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 3.
Ayes 32, noes 3. The bill passes.
Regular calendar House bills on third reading. House Bill 657. A bill relating to the Comprehensive Plan Solar Facilities Review. Reported from the committee, committee substitute has been adopted by the Senate.
The senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Madam President, could that go by for the day?
Without objection.
House Bill 528, a bill to direct the State Corporation Commission to determine when electric utilities should retire coal-fired or natural gas-fired electric generation facilities. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with an amendment, and there are 3 floor amendments that are in conflict.
Madam President.
The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
I know this is an issue that's especially important to the senator from King George, and I'd request that it go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 528 will go by for the day.
House Bill 798, a bill relating to protection of employees from retaliatory actions by their employer. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I yield to Senator Norman.
The senator from James City, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm respectfully, without any malice in my heart, requesting that that bill be re-referred to the Courts Committee being that it provides for a civil course of action and also the issue of dealing with the attorney's fees. And I would respectfully ask the chairman of courts to be certain that it is taken up at Monday's meeting.
The question is, shall the bill be referred to the Committee on Commerce and Labor? To the did he say judiciary? Okay, to judiciary. All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Well, I'm sorry, the ayes have it. The bill is re-referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
House Bill 1664, a bill relating to electric utilities development of offshore wind generation facilities. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with an amendment, and there are 7 floor amendments.
Wow. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
The amendment in committee, which I'll move its adoption, and then I will turn it over to, conforms it to Senator Lewis's, Senator Mason's Senate Bill 860. That's what the committee amendment did, and I would move its adoption.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator Saslaw, you have the floor. Did you want to yield to Senator?
I would yield to Senator.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSaff.
Madam President, I'd like to withdraw the first 5 amendments in block.
I'm sure that's very much appreciated. Without objection. The senator has floor.
And waive the reading of all 7 amendments.
The question is, shall the reading of all 7 amendments be waived? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator
Madam President, I'd like to withdraw the first 5 amendments. Oh, I'm sorry, we did that already.
We've done already.
Okay, then I'd like to move the next 2 amendments, which would be Amendment 6 and Amendment 7. And speaking to that, Madam President.
Senator has the floor.
And what this does is add veterans to the individuals that will be trained on the wind portion of this. And Madam President, with that, I move those 2 amendments, number 6 and 7.
The question is, shall the 2 floor amendments, 6 and 7,
Madam President. I'm sorry.
the senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the amendments.
Your senator has floor.
Madam President, you see the gentleman withdrew the first 5 at our request, and earlier in the conversation, as my bill and yours came to the floor,
correct,
we discussed with him and agreed that we'd add veterans in these 2 places. He agreed to these 2 spots, which we appreciate, and so we're in support of the amendment.
We are.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right. I would agree with the floor amendments.
The question is, shall the floor amendments be agreed to as explained? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The 2 floor amendments are agreed to. The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Saslaw.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the Senate, as I said, this conforms it with the exception we've added the amendments dealing with veterans to Senator Mason's bill, offshore wind development. And essentially what it says is that the construction of this project of 5,200 megawatts is in the public interest, and that the costs, though, will be monitored by the SCC, and they have to be within what would be normal industry type costs for this type of project. And with that, I would move that the project has received plenty of publicity, the newspapers and everything, but essentially it sets up the ground rules for Dominion going ahead with this project.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Bill.
Senator has floor.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill could get hours of debate, but I'm going to try and limit my remarks to about 2 to 3 minutes. I did talk with the proponents of the bill. I've definitely talked with the opponents of the bill. Just a couple things I want people to note, because this is an issue that's going to continue to develop over the next few years. Years ago, I served on the Energy Environment Commission, and we looked at placing wind energy off of our Atlantic coast going back, this is 15 years ago. And it is uniquely positioned to be a wind energy resource, and we have an interconnection place right there with a residential community right off the Atlantic coast. So we are uniquely positioned to use this resource. As I've said many times on this floor, I do not like taking projects outside of the SEC jurisdiction. They are there to protect the ratepayer. I also realize that for an investment of this type, you really need to have some type of preference in place, and this obviously does that. I think it's reasonable. I want to point out to you that what we're essentially saying is that the cost of this energy will be 1.6 times that energy or that cost that's generated from a simple cycle facility, which is basically the most common and the most simple facility that we use to produce energy in the Commonwealth, typically through using natural gas, formerly coal, but typically natural gas. Now, please keep in mind that right now, natural gas is almost free. All right, so 1.6 times is a very reasonable price. Oil and gas markets can change dramatically depending on who's in the White House and who's in control of the federal government. So that may be a marker that we're going to have to revisit in the future as we go down the road with this. I do think at this point in time, 2020, this is a reasonable measure and the numbers are reasonable. I will say right now we need to lay down a marker that, again, we're giving a preference to this type of energy. I believe it's a preference that we need to get this industry jump-started, and we're uniquely positioned to jump-start it. But I will say that this may be numbers and levels that we may need to come back with over the next 2 or 3 years if and when the oil and gas markets in this country change. So having spoken longer than I promised, I ask that you vote for the bill.
The question is, shall House Bill 1664 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 10.
Ayes 27, noes 10. The bill passes.
Madam President.
The senator from Bass, Senator Deeds.
I rise for a motion, having voted on the prevailing side whereby we agreed to accept a House amendment to Senate Bill 219 on page 33 of the calendar. I move that we reconsider that vote.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 219 be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bill is reconsidered.
Madam Chair, I move that we, with a motion, or with a recommendation that we reject the House amendment, or the House rejected with the motion that we accept the House amendment, I recommend that we reject it. And here's the problem with this bill. The House amendment takes the calls off the bill. This bill is not funded in either the House budget or the Senate budget. And we put another bill that's identical to this in conference already. And this bill, I suggest, needs to go to conference too. I'm not sure what kind of fiscal impact it has, but it's not very responsible of us to pass something that's not funded.
The question is, shall the Senate, with the recommendation that the Senate reject the House amendment on Senate Bill 219, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 37.
Ayes 0, noes 37. The House amendments have been rejected.
Returning to page 64, House Bill 6, a bill relating to the Virginia Fair Housing Law, unlawful discriminatory housing practices, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
The senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Madam President, I'll defer to the senator from Mecklenburg. I think he has a motion to make.
The senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask this bill to go by for the day, please.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
House Bill 43, a bill relating to provisional voting, persons voting in split precincts, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill, it provides that any voter who's assigned to a precinct that's split between two or more election districts and who believes he was given a ballot for the district of which he is not a qualified voter may request prior to casting the ballot and shall be permitted to cast a provisional ballot for the district of which he believes he's a qualified voter and for the district which the poll book indicates he's registered. The bill requires the ballots to be sealed in envelopes labeled with the corresponding district numbers and then sealed in the green envelope provided for all provisional ballots. At the meeting to determine the validity of all provisional ballots offered in the election, the electoral board shall verify in which district the voter is qualified and count that ballot. But only one ballot gets counted.
The question, with the recommendation
that pass. I move passage of the bill.
Okay. The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Did all the senators vote? Any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 1.
Ayes 36, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 198. A bill relating to recount special election to be held in the case of a tie vote, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move the substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the substitutes will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Bath.
Madam President, this bill relates to the House of Delegates special election that was held a little more than a year ago in Newport News, where the winner was basically chosen by draw out of a hat at the end of a tie vote. This says that if after a recount of an election, the recount court finds a tie, there's going to be a special election to determine which candidate is elected to office. This doesn't apply in cases of recounts for elections for governor, lieutenant governor, or attorney general. And the amendment, the substitute, clarifies that if there's a tie vote prior to the recount, then the winner is determined by lot. But if there's a recount, if there's a tie in the second vote, you're determined by lot at that point. I move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall House Bill 198 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 15.
Ayes 22, noes 15. The bill passes.
House Bill 214.
Sergeant at Arms, please receive it. Welcome, Delegate Herring.
Yes, Madam President, I've been directed by the Speaker of the House of Delegates to inform the Senate that the House has postponed the special and continuing joint order related to judicial elections until Monday, March 2nd, 2022. Monday. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Returning to our calendar.
House Bill 214, a bill relating to candidate petitions, residency of petition circulators, signed statement required for non-resident circulators, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. In 2013, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a Virginia law requiring petition circulators to be residents of the Commonwealth of Virginia. The citation of the case is Libertarian Party of Virginia versus Judd, 17 F. 3rd 308. This bill addresses that situation. It removes the requirement in the code that a person be a legal resident of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but it requires a non-resident petition circulator to sign a statement on the affidavit accompanying the petition that he consents to the jurisdiction of the courts of the Commonwealth in resolving any disputes concerning the circulation of petitions or signatures contained therein by that person. The signature of qualified voters collected by a non-resident petition circulator who fails to sign such statement or who later fails to appear or produce documents when properly served with a subpoena to do so shall not be counted towards the minimum number of signatures required by law. I reiterate my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 17, no 17.
Ayes 17, noes 17, and I'm not the real Attorney General or whatever. Lieutenant Governor, the bill fails to pass. I'm a fake.
House Bill 232.
Madam Chair,
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
prevailing side that last measure, I would ask that we reconsider that vote.
The question is, shall House Bill 214 fail to pass be reconsidered? All in favor of that motion, please record your votes. Those in favor, aye. Okay, upon reconsideration, all in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, no 0.
Ayes 36, no 0. The bill is reconsidered. The senator from Bath, Senator Dean.
Madam President, I again move that this bill vote. The Virginia law has been struck down as unconstitutional. This sets some safeguards for non-resident petition circulators. They've got to sign a petition, and they've got to submit to the jurisdiction of Virginia courts. Without this law, they're just going to be able to continue to circulate petitions. If that's what you want, defeat the bill. But if you want protections, if you want to be them to consent to the jurisdiction of Virginia's courts, if you want to stand for the honor and dignity of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, you have to vote for this bill.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of that motion will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change your vote? Do any senator desire to change your vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, no 16.
Ayes 21, no 16. The bill passed.
House Bill 232, a bill relating to distribution of mail voter registration application forms, certain public and private institutions of higher education. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that this bill pass. It simply requires the Department of Elections to provide a reasonable number of mail voter registration application forms to colleges and universities, nonprofit institutions of higher education that are eligible to participate in the TAG program, and other educational institutions authorized to issue bonds. The bill requires the State Council of Higher Education of Virginia to assist the department by providing a list of such institutions and by requesting those institutions to make the mail voter registration application forms available to students. I reiterate my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall House Bill 232 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, no 17.
Ayes 20, no 17. The bill passed.
House Bill 241, a bill relating to protected voter status, certain evidence not required. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that this bill pass. This bill removes the requirement that a person who's in fear for his personal safety from another person who has threatened or stalked him must provide evidence that he or she has filed a complaint with the magistrate or law enforcement officer against such other person in order to be given protected voter status. The bill does not eliminate the requirement that the person who claims to have been threatened or stalked sign a written statement that he or she is in fear for his personal safety. They still have to do that. And I reiterate my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, no 17.
Ayes 19, no 17. The bill passes.
House Bill 393, a bill relating to landlord and tenant rights and responsibilities, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. With a substitute.
The senator from Northern Fairfax. The question is, shall the Senate Finance and Appropriations substitute be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have just done is conform the House bill to Senate Bill 707, Senator McClellan's bill. And what this now does is it requires the Department of Housing and Community Development to develop a statement of rights and responsibilities of tenants under the Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, and that this will be provided to prospective tenants and signed by both the landlord and the tenant. Move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the House Bill 393 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, no 6.
Ayes 31, no 6. The bill passes.
House Bill 443, a bill relating to the closure of certain coal combustion residuals impoundments, Giles and Russell counties. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee amendments.
The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. This had to do with coal ash ponds in Southwest Virginia that need to be sealed up and closed by Appalachian Power. We got an agreement on the procedure for doing so. One of the questions that was raised by my colleague from Roanoke was whether or not there would be some type of return paid on this for the efforts that were put into it. The response was from the utility that the actual cleanup efforts themselves are just passed through as a cost. There is no profit margin that's added to that, as it's not considered a capital cost. So all that being considered, I ask that you pass the bill.
The question is, shall House Bill 443 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The bill passes.
House Bill 586, a bill to require the Commissioner of Health to convene a work group to study Commonwealth's public drinking water report. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendment.
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Howell.
I move the bill pass. What this bill does is directs the health commissioner to establish a work group to study specified substances in public drinking water. Based on the results, the work group may develop recommendations, and the commissioner may develop maximum containment levels for those substances.
For that explanation. The question is, shall House Bill 586 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 1.
Ayes 35, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 623, a bill relating to gender-neutral terms, prohibitions on same-sex marriage and civil unions removed from code, certain gender-specific crimes penalty. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Madam President, I move that the committee substitute from the Committee on the Judiciary be adopted.
The question is, shall the substitute from the Committee from the Judiciary be agreed to or adopted? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards. The senator from Northern Fairfax County, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass. This bill replaces the terms husband and wife as well as related terms with gender-neutral terms throughout the code. It repeals statutory prohibitions on same-sex marriages and civil unions. It amends various criminal and criminal procedure laws to make them applicable to both same-sex and opposite-sex married couples.
Thank you. The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye.
Madam President.
The senator from the senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Madam President, this bill seems to have a lot of different things, and I think I'd like it to go by for the day so that when we vote on it, we can have a better understanding of what the substitute might do.
Without objection, bill will go by for the day.
House Bill 668, a bill relating to field investigations permit, archaeological qualifications penalty. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with amendments.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee amendments.
Question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment agreed to.
Madam President, now that we've amended this bill, it basically has to do with the idea of somebody applying for a state position as an archaeologist when they're not actually holding an archaeology degree. Apparently this has happened in a couple cases, I guess relevant to Williamsburg, so I'll defer to the gentleman from James City County. But we are, and my colleague from, where are you from, Williamsburg? From Williamsburg, okay. Bottom line is we amended it down to a Class 3 misdemeanor. It only applies for those that apply to state projects, so I think it's a fairly limited scope. I move we pass the bill.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley. Change your mind? The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record your vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 12.
Ayes 25, noes 12. The bill passes.
House Bill 764, a bill relating to domesticated animal premises liability for domesticated animal pathogen. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually voted against this bill because of my own allergic condition when I get near bills with an immunity clause attached to it. But I think it's actually fairly reasonable, so hopefully I'll be the only one going red. Otherwise, I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall House Bill 764 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 2.
Ayes 35, noes 2. The bill passes.
House Bill 806, a bill relating to criminal injuries compensation fund, unreimbursed medical costs, victims of sexual assault. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the substitute be agreed to.
Question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. The bill adds certain individuals as invitees to the annual meeting sponsored by the Commonwealth Attorneys to coordinate multidisciplinary responses to criminal sexual assault. And it, in addition to expenses allowed under current law, directs the Secretary of Health and Human Resources to establish a work group to make recommendations on the feasibility and cost of expanding the applicability of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Fund. Move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 852, a bill relating to the Virginia Information Technologies Agency Required Information Security Training Program for state employees. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the bill pass. As the clerk says, it requires VETA in conjunction with state agency heads, representatives of the Supreme Court, and joint rules committees to develop a training curriculum for all state employees on information security awareness and proper procedures. Move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Is 1.
Ayes 35, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 872, a bill relating to voter registration by mail, certain first-time voters permitted to vote by absentee ballot. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. This bill adds to the list of exceptions to the requirements for first-time voters that are registered to vote by mail must vote in person. Those persons who are entitled under current law to vote by absentee mail, but they're in jail on misdemeanor charges awaiting trial, or they're just in jail and they're going to be there during the election. It allows them to vote absentee.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 17.
Ayes 20, noes 17. The bill passes.
House Bill 904, a bill relating to child abuse and neglect reporting public sports programs. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the bill pass. This bill adds to the list of mandatory reporters of suspected child abuse and neglect, athletic coaches, directors, and other persons 18 years of age or older who are employed by or volunteering with a public sports organization or team. Move it pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 3.
Ayes 33, noes 3. The bill passes.
House Bill 1090, a bill relating to required immunizations. reported from the Committee on
Madam
Education
President.
and Health with an amendment, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Can that go by for the day, please?
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
House Bill 1116, a bill relating to political parties' notification of adoption of primary election certification of candidates, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam President, can that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
House Bill 1136, a bill relating to hazardous waste site inventory, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass. Speak to the bill.
Senator has floor.
I think this bill is summed up in its title that DEQ will simply publish the list of hazardous waste sites that they already compile. And I move the bill pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the rolls.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1208, a bill relating to certain students' waiver to access student transportation in certain cases, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill requires school boards that exclude students from accessing school transportation when the student resides within a certain distance of the school to establish a process for waiving the exclusion if the person is unable to provide adequate transportation for their child because the parent is providing necessary medical care to another family member who resides in the same household. Move the bill pass.
Thank you. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben. Your light was on. Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Did all senators vote? Did any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 12.
Ayes 24, noes 12.
And Rule 36-1, I'm sorry.
Ayes 24, noes 12, nays 12, Rule 36-1. The bill passes.
House Bill 1210, a bill relating to minority language accessibility, voting, and election materials, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
The senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, Madam President, I move the bill pass.
We need a committee amendments to be agreed to first.
Well, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Okay, the amendments basically clarify, and they're basically clerical and declaratory and technical. There's one substantive agreement that provides that a covered locality may distribute the voting and election materials in the preferred language indicated by the voter. Here's what the bill does. It requires the State Board of Elections to prescribe and a covered locality to provide voting and election materials in languages other than English. A county, city, or town is designated by the State Board as a covered locality if the State Board determines in consultation with the Director of the Census, based on the 2010 American Community Survey census data and subsequent American Community Survey data in 5-year increments or comparable census data, that either 5% or more of the citizens of voting age of such county or city are members of a single language minority and are unable to speak or understand English adequately enough to participate in the electoral process, or more than 10,000 of the citizens of voting age of such county, city, or town are members of a single language minority and are unable to speak or understand English adequately enough to participate in the process, or in the case of a county or city containing all or any part of an Indian reservation, more than 5% of the American Indian citizens of voting age within the reservation are members of a single language minority who can't understand English. At this point, this bill only applies, I think, to Fairfax County. I reiterate my motion that it pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the...
Madam President?
Yes. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Senator from Bath, yield for a question.
C.
Am I correct that the purpose of this is to require election materials to reflect languages reflected by citizens as reflected in the census that's going to be taken next year?
Madam President, I would say that the way it's written, at present, it looks at the data from 2010 and 2015, but there will be additional data collected next year in the census. It is designed to reflect the languages of citizens and those people that are entitled to vote. It only applies in areas where there are significant numbers of those language minorities that makes sense.
Madam President, one more question.
Senator has the floor.
I would ask the senator from Bath whether he understands whether or not the census questions that are going to be asked next year are going to ask whether the people are citizens of the United States.
President, I would say to the gentleman that I don't understand I don't know anything about the census questions that will be asked. I've not reviewed that material, and I'm not certain how they will be asked or which questions will be offered.
Well, Madam President, just speaking very briefly of this, I don't have too great an interest since it's just Fairfax, but I don't know how you do this. I mean, the census is not going to ask a question about whether people are citizens of the United States. That's been removed from the questions, my understanding is. So you're going to have a census that's going to yield information about all the languages spoken by people in a particular county and no information about whether those correlate to people who are eligible to vote. In Harrisonburg, which is the only place that I know any of the statistics, I think something like 75 or 80 languages are spoken in the Harrisonburg city schools. And if Fairfax is going to be compelled to present these materials in 100 different languages, so be it.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Gentleman from Franklin actually had a question.
That wasn't the one in the queue. Oh, he was kidding around.
Madam President.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I read the bill. This only applies to Fairfax County, and it's going to apply to exactly two language groups, Koreans and Spanish-speaking. So basically you're talking about, well, I'm not saying it's two-thirds vote, but the bottom line is it's going to apply to two language groups, Korean and Spanish-speaking, and it's something that Fairfax has the ability to do. Frankly, it's something the electoral board there probably already does. So before people start taking this as 75 different languages, you got to have 10,000 people in that group in that county that speak that foreign language and do not speak English. Trust me, from someone that's lived with his Korean in-laws for 20-some years, I know the group that it's talking about, okay? You all don't need to worry about it. My problem, okay?
The senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Thank you. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has floor.
Yes, ma'am. So, Madam President, I just wanted to clarify. It is the American Community Survey that would be, they would be using that data. The American Community Survey is based on meeting population and language threshold ability as prescribed by the Voting Rights Act, which we embed in the bill. So if your locality does not meet those thresholds, you don't have to provide the material in the other languages. Just wanted to clarify that for the body.
Thank you for the explanation. The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 13.
Ayes 23, noes 13. The bill passes.
House Bill 1284, a bill to direct the Board of Corrections to conduct a review of the standards and requirements governing and the application use of isolated confinement in local correctional facilities. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the bill pass. In addition to what is stated in the title, it also gives the board the right to promulgate standards consistent with its findings. Move the bill pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 9.
Ayes 28, noes 9. The bill passes.
House Bill 1313, a bill relating to the Chief Resilience Officer flood control. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with an amendment.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee amendment.
Question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that amendment, I think we made this basically cost neutral. Also that the meetings will be held quarterly. Just that the governor will designate a chief resilience officer that will be somebody within his administration. There will be no additional cost, and this person will coordinate all of the efforts that we have down in Hampton Roads and on the eastern side of the state to protect our community. Thank you. Move the bill pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The bill passes.
House Bill 1336, a bill relating to family life education, standards of learning, and curriculum guidelines, contemporary community standards review. Reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
I move the amendments be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. Senator from Northern Fairfax City, Senator Howell.
Now all that the bill does is require each school board to review its family life education curricula at least once every 7 years. I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 10.
Ayes 27, noes 10. The bill passes.
House Bill 1467, a bill relating to prisoners obtaining certain identification documentation upon release. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendments, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with a substitute. And there's a floor substitute.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, with the recommendation that the committee amendments be rejected, I move the amendments be agreed to. But I want you to vote red, in case you're confused.
With the recommendation that the committee amendments be rejected, the question is, shall the amendments be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The amendments have been rejected. The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Madam President, I will defer to the senator from, is it Northern Fairfax? Senator
from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just ask, is the floor substitute consistent with the Senate? With our substitute?
Madam President, I would say
Senator
that
from Arlington.
the floor substitute, I believe, would remove any need for budgetary language. So,
Madam President, I will move that we approve the finance substitute, but ask the people vote no.
With the recommendation that the substitute be rejected, the question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed?
No.
The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Madam President, I move the reading. I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those noes opposed? Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Floor amendments are waived.
Thank you. Madam President, I move that the amendment be agreed to, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to try again. This is the same bill that we discussed earlier, Senator Hope's bill. This is now Delegate Aird's bill. And what this bill does, again, and I will explain the amendment, is if in our local and regional jails, if an inmate has been released after 90 days, the sheriff's or jail superintendent would be responsible for providing assistance so that inmate could obtain a Social Security card or birth certificate. What the amendment does is it removes the mandate that the sheriff must forward those documents to the released inmate and says shall make every reasonable effort. That was a big bone of contention among the sheriffs. The stakeholders have agreed, Delegate Aird has agreed, and many others. So with that explanation, and the second explanation I will offer that the amendment does change is we had language in there that the indigent would not be charged any fees. This amendment says that funds would be, if there were funds in the inmate's account, they would be used to cover the cost. If not, then the local jails would. I have discussed this with many of my colleagues in the Senate. I have now fully explained the bill. And Madam Chair, after that explanation, I move passage of the bill. Thank you.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. Just speak briefly to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we'll look at what's going on here.
I'm sorry, Senator Cosgrove. I need to go back and adopt the substitute first.
Yes, ma'am.
The question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The floor substitute has been agreed to. Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
I will just ask everybody to look closely at the bill. The substitute makes it better, but I have heard from a couple of sheriffs, including the Suffolk sheriff, that they are very concerned about the costs and the drain on their manpower having to do this particular function. It sounds like a really good idea, but it's another thing. We're just not putting the money forth that they think they're going to need. So I hope we'll think about what we're doing here. I can't support the bill because my local sheriffs don't want me to support the bill, and I support my local sheriffs. So just think about what we're actually passing down to the Sheriff's Department throughout the Commonwealth with this bill and, unfortunately, the other bill that we passed. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm sorry, Madam President.
The senator from, junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
Madam President.
Good afternoon, junior senator from.
With regard to the inquiry by Senator Cosgrove, I too spoke with a number of sheriffs, and if my memory serves me correct, one of the lobbyists for to the sheriffs, John Jones, appeared in committee. This is not a situation where you're going to have staff taking people from a jail and carrying them down to the local DMV and ferrying them back and forth. That's not going to happen. If you look at the language in the bill, the gist of the bill is providing them with application forms, providing them with assistance as how they get that identification card, making sure that they have it. When they leave the jailhouse doors, presenting it to them. Much of the back and forth can be done electronically. For example, a photo sent to DMV, sent back to the jail. I think that the cost to the jails and their respective jailers is very small. I hope that the body would pass the measure.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to offer some concluding remarks.
Senator has the floor.
Well, again, I renew my motion that the bill pass, and I will say that we did have some testimony that indicated concern on behalf of the sheriffs. This was a negotiated deal that was reached probably at 6 o'clock last night. Mr. Jones is very satisfied with this, and many of our local and regional jails are already doing this now. We're trying to look at this from a Commonwealth perspective. It is a best practice, and it's a tool to help our inmates re-enter the communities. So with that, I hope that it's the pleasure of the body to pass this bill as amended.
The question is, shall the bill pass as amended? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 10.
Ayes 26, noes 10. The bill passes.
House Bill 1524, a bill relating to prostitution.
Madam Chair. I'm sorry, Madam President.
The senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteph.
Can this bill please go by for the day? There's some folks who teach salsa dancing on the beach, and they brought up some concerns yesterday about this. I haven't had a chance to close the loop completely with them. I'm sure you can. You have to pay for the class. But there's some concerns that this might interfere with the classes they're doing, and there's a very large Latino population that comes for the dancing, and there's some big concerns on this. So I want to have the opportunity to talk to them with the bill in front of me so I can actually answer questions or be better knowledgeable after this weekend. Thank
Without
you.
objection, the bill goes by for the day.
House Bill 1552. House Bill 1552, a bill relating to tethering animals, adequate shelter, and reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I promise that this bill has nothing to do with salsa dancing. I will move the committee substitute, though.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, they're still talking about salsa over here.
They are, and I cannot wait to see what that class is all about. But, Madam President, I move the bill pass and speak to the motion.
Senator has floor.
Very briefly, we have conformed this bill so it is exactly equivalent to Senator Bell's bill, and I don't think anything more needs to be said. I hope the bill passes.
The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, would the gentleman yield for question?
Will the senator yield?
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly, he yields.
Mr. President, I know in an earlier version there was a code section that allowed localities to put on increased requirements for companion animals in relation to their residence or living conditions like water and the amount of hours they would have to be exercised. Is that in the version that's before us now?
Madam Chair, I am looking at the bill 1552. I think I know what you're talking about. It was an addition to local authority under 3.2. If the gentleman wants to take a bye for a day, that legitimately, that's fine. I asked the bill go by for the day.
Madam Chairman, I just want to make sure that that code section is not in there. It changes how I'll vote.
Madam President, if the gentleman will yield.
I yield.
The senator from Loudoun, Senator Bell.
To the gentleman, I would say that we actually took that out. And when they conformed my version, we are currently in conference, even though we haven't got to that stage. We've been discussing it, and that provision will not be in the final version.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the gentleman. The question is, shall House Bill 1552 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, noes 17.
Ayes 19, noes 17. The bill passes.
House Bill 1622, a bill relating to the Open Space Lands Preservation Trust Fund acquisition of interest in property. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass. Speak to the bill.
Senator has floor.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill simply says that the Open Space Lands Preservation Fund, the funds can be used not just for purchasing open space easements, but also a fee simple interest in land, which would be essentially ownership of land, allowing localities to do that. So that's all it does. I move the bill pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1641, a bill relating to coal ash ponds, drinking water well, resident notification. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. This is going to be the first of two coal ash bills dealing with Prince William.
Committee substitute?
Yes, I move the committee substitute.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Committee substitute is agreed to. Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. This simply has to do with notification for any coal ash ponds that are being closed in Prince William County, that any residents within a mile and a half of that coal ash pond shall be contacted by the utility to let them know about the closure. This was a perimeter, and the details on this were worked out between the utilities and the delegates, and there was no serious opposition in committee. I move the bill pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All
Madam
in favor?
Clerk.
The
Madam Speaker.
Oh, the Senator
Madam
from
President.
Senator Chase.
Madam President, could that bill please go by for the day?
Without objection, bill goes by for the day.
House Bill 1642, a bill relating to coal ash ponds, well monitoring program, drinking water well testing, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Fairfax City.
Madam President, I move the substitute.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Committee substitute is agreed to.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the sister bill of 1641. This has to do with well monitoring and testing, and basically it's the idea of the same $1.5 million, 1.5 mile perimeter around the coal ash ponds, that any private wells that the waters will be tested for lead or bicarbonate, benzene, anything else that might be a hazardous chemical.
Madam President.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
May that bill please also go by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Before or after the sub? House Bill 1678, a bill relating to extending polling place hours and other related deadlines. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move the bill pass. This bill makes one simple change. It extends the voting deadline or on election day from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Before it came to the Senate, the House put a little clause on it that requires the bill to be reenacted next year. So it won't make that change from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock unless we vote for it this year and next year. I reiterate my motion that it pass.
Question is, shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 17.
Ayes 20, noes 17. The bill passes.
House Bill 1707, a bill relating to the Clean Energy Advisory Board, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill pass. Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the body, first of all, I want to say thank you to the delegate Aird staff that gave me these very convenient talking points on my desk. Basically, this would expand the board from 15 to 17 with 2 additional slots for a solar technical specialist and attorney with electrical co-op expertise. I could give you more details, but it would probably be more than you need. The bottom line is it expands the board from 15 to 17. I move the bill pass.
Like Senator Potts used to say, we're on a roll. Shall the bill pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to roll? Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Did any senator decide to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
24 ayes, ayes 24, noes 13.
Ayes 24, noes 13. The bill passes.
Rolling back to page 62, House Bill 657. Whoops, went by for the day, never mind.
Okay.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Madam President. Madam President.
Yes, the senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
I move we reconsider the vote which we passed this House bills in the uncontested block. I apologize for one thing I missed. So,
the question is, shall the vote by which the bills were passed in the block be reconsidered? All in favor of that motion, record your votes aye.
You ready?
Yeah.
Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The bills in the block are reconsidered. The senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
thank you, Madam President. Could House Bill 557 on page 53 come out of the block?
Without objection, the bill is out of the block.
Madam President, move that the bills in the block, now in the block, pass.
The question is, shall the remaining bills in the block pass? That is with the exception of, no, that's it. Shall all of the bills in the block pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all of the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
Madam President.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Just because he's my friend and we came in the legislature together, having voted on the prevailing side where we just passed that block of bills and understanding that it has to be unanimous consent to consider it once again, I ask that we can reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the bills in the block be reconsidered? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all of the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
You have ayes 36, no 0. The bills in the block are reconsidered. The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam President. I humbly ask that we pass this block of bills now.
The question is, shall the bills in the block pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The bill's in a block. Passed. Thank you very much.
Madam President, can that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day. Senator McPike. The senior senator from Fairfax? No, not yet.
Uncontested calendar. House
Madam
Bill for second
President,
reading.
Madam President.
Senator Peake.
Yes, ma'am. By request, having voted on the prevailing side by which House Bill 443 passed on page 67.
67.
I would ask that we reconsider that vote.
The question is, shall House Bill 443 be reconsidered? All in favor of that motion will record your vote, aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The bill is reconsidered. Senator.
Madam Chair, this is the coal ash bill for Giles and Russell County. I think it's previously been explained. I move the bill pass.
Madam President.
The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. If that bill could also go by the day today, please.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar. House bills on second reading.
Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move that all House bills on second reading on the uncontested and regular calendar, it's pages 81 through 91, House Bill 664 through House Bill 1722, that the rules be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 81 through 91, that is House Bills 664 through House Bill 1722, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all of the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0.
Ayes 37, no 0. The rules are suspended. Constitutional reading dispensed with. The senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I now move that all said House bills go by for the day.
The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on the third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar. House Joint Resolution on third reading. House Joint Resolution 103, proposing an amendment to Section 6 of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to personal property tax exemption, motor vehicle owned by a veteran who is disabled.
The senator from Bath, the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Madam President, I ask that the bill go by for the day.
Without objection, the bill will go by for the day. The senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I inquire of the clerk, does that complete the calendar for today?
We rolled right through it.
Rolled right through it.
It's like Senator Potts said. We were on a roll.
That's it.
Any other business to come before the Senate?
I hope not.
Clerk will report. The junior senator from Arlington. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the body, just wanted to remind you that on Sunday evening, if you come back into town, Myrna and I are having folks over for dinner. A couple of people have asked, is it formal? It is very informal. If you come well-dressed, you will be the only one that's well-dressed. Not to dissuade you from coming, but I will advise you, give you warning that Bill Stanley will be doing some of the cooking there. Lastly, some folks said, can we bring kids? That's no problem at all. I'd only ask that you leave with the same number of kids that you brought, even if you take one or two of mine with you.
Madam President, would the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
Will the senator from Franklin be using any soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk, or other in his cooking?
He told me he's going to be bringing spirits with him. I don't know what that means.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a friendly reminder, I got a check from my wife for $250, so please stop by. We got 7 days to get this done. I need to get $10,000. I do have McWhutter's cell phone number, but he has been gone for 5 years, so I feel somewhat guilty about bothering him about this. So please get me a check. Please get me a check for $250. Thank you, folks.
Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey. Did you accidentally push your button? You did. The clerk will report the announcements.
Monday, March the 2nd. The Committee on the Judiciary will meet at 8 a.m., Senate Room A, Pocahontas. The Committee on Local Government will meet at 9 a.m., Senate Room 3 in the Capitol. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m., Senate Room 1. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m., Senate Room 2. The Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet immediately upon adjournment of the Committee on Commerce and Labor in Senate Room A, Pocahontas. This is a schedule change, and we have no weather report, so it's all...
That's 9 o'clock.
Okay, Judiciary meets at 9 o'clock, not 8 o'clock.
Exactly, 9 o'clock.
And we have no report on the weather, so good luck.
I'd like to call on the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Madam President, long calendar, excellent job.
I made 2 stumbles. Thank you.
Madam President, I do now move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon Monday.
Shall the Senate adjourn until 12 noon on Monday? All in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate adjourns until 12 noon on Monday.